Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Kyle Henderson along with Andrew Bone. Today, we're talking about the impact of Steve Sarkisian leaving to Texas from a recruiting standpoint. We're here with our recruiting analyst, Andrew Bone. Bone, huge news following the Rose Bowl. Steve Sarkisian takes the Texas job. Your initial thoughts?
Well, I think with the way Sark has handled the Tide's offense the last couple of seasons, I think a lot of people just assumed that he was going to be gone, that he was going to get a great head coaching opportunity, and he obviously looked around last year, had some opportunities last year, but decided to stay at Alabama for another year, and has orchestrated one of the best offenses that we've ever seen in Tuscaloosa, and he's decided to stay on through the national championship, which I think is obviously huge for Alabama. I don't think there was ever any doubt, that he wasn't going to stay on board. But big hire for Texas. I mean, he's a great offensive mind, and definitely somebody that I think Alabama fans are going to miss. I think Alabama's had some outstanding offensive coordinators, through this run, and I feel like every single time Alabama loses a coordinator, Alabama fans are asking, well, who's gonna replace him? Who's gonna be able to live up to these expectations? Especially with you had Lane Kiffin and that high flying offense, and then Coach Loxley and the offense that he was able to orchestrate. Did so well, and then you bring in Sark. Who's going to be the next guy to really come in and lead the ship on the offensive side of the ball? I'm don't have any doubt. There's no doubt in my mind that Alabama's, not going to hire, somebody, with great credentials and somebody that, is going to be equipped to lead the offense here in the future. So not really too concerned about Alabama's offense moving forward. I think they're going to be just fine. But, from a recruiting standpoint, it's kind of interesting because Sark kind of had his hands on every single offensive recruit that Alabama was going after. Now his main area was on the West Coast, and recruiting guys from out on the West Coast, but especially one of the guys that he's was recruiting that's still available is JT Tuamola, the five-star defensive lineman from Seattle. Not sure how much of an impact that's going to have on his decision. Obviously, losing somebody that really well on the staff, probably hurts a little bit, but at the same time, he's a defensive player. So, will that have any impact on his decision moving forward? We'll have to wait and see. But obviously, I still think, Alabama's going to, try to find the right guy. And, I think they're going to make, a pretty quick hire. I just don't see them waiting around long, especially with, trying to get some more guys in this recruiting class. Obviously it's not going to have that big of an impact on the class just because, all of these guys, pretty much have already signed, signing the early signing period. All these guys have, already made their decisions and signed with Alabama. I don't see, really any, fallback in terms of, seeing any guys potentially trying to get out of their LOI. Most of the guys are going to be arriving in Tuscaloosa, next week, especially all the offensive guys. I mean, that's that's kind of a good thing for Alabama is, you're going to have, your three of your wide receivers already enrolling at Alabama, and Christian Leary, Ja'Cory Brooks, and Ajay Hall. You have your tight end, Robbie Oots. You have your quarterback, Jalen Milroe. You have four of your offensive linemen coming in here next week. So you got to feel pretty good, if you're Alabama, knowing that, your offensive class is pretty much intact. Now, there are a few guys on the offensive side of the ball that are still not going to be enrolling early. Two of the guys have signed, Jaden Roberts and also JoJo Earl. Those are two guys that have already, made their decisions. So, I don't think there's anything to really worry about with those guys. But, Kamar Wheaton, that's going to be somebody that I think everybody's kind of, paying attention to just because he doesn't talk to anybody, doesn't say a word, hadn't talked about his commitment, hasn't really done anything, just, surprised many people when he did commit to Alabama, committing to Alabama over Oklahoma. Now, Texas was not a finalist for Kamar Wheaton. It had been narrowed down to Alabama, LSU, and Oklahoma, and then it got narrowed down to Alabama and Oklahoma when he made that decision. But with him being a Texas kid, Will that potentially, cause him to, maybe take another visit to Texas? And, he can't necessarily meet with the, with the coaching staff down there because of the recruiting dead period, but he still could, decide to take a trip, before signing day. It's something that we're going to watch closely. I've already reached out to one of his coaches. Hasn't spoken with Kamar yet, but plans on speaking with him, here in the next couple of days, just to, kind of see where his head's at, because you never know, with the way that, Najee Harris has performed this season, under Sark, that could be something of interest for Kamar. So he'll have to wait. We'll all have to wait and kind of see if that has any effect on his decision. But as of right now, yeah, I don't want to say no. It's not going to have an effect, because we just, the fact is we just don't know. Just because he's such a quiet kid, and we just don't know what he's thinking. So we'll kind of keep an eye on that pretty closely. But as of right now, I would say, I still think he's going to end up signing with Alabama in February.
Here with Andrew Bone of BamaInsider.com to talk about the impact of losing Steve Sarkisian to Texas. Bone, look, I mean, it happens every single year. Assistants follow, a new head football coach. We have no idea if that's going to take place right now. I wanted to ask you, from kind of a coaching standpoint, look, all these coaches are important to Alabama's arsenal, right? Nick Saban has an incredible coaching staff. We've talked about the continuity that they've had, which has really allowed them to get to this point. I think, in my opinion, having that coaching continuity over the last couple of years has really helped them get to this perfect point in the season, entering the championship game. I wanted to ask you about Jeff Banks, because there's going to be guys that we hear might go with Sark. They might, at least hear from him. I wanted to get your take on Jeff Banks, because he played a huge role recruiting the state of Texas from Alabama after speaking with you. Talk about some of these coaches on the roster and who would have the biggest kind of effect in from a negative standpoint if they did leave Alabama. I mean, of course, all these guys coach at a high level, but I know Jeff Banks did an incredible job helping to put this class of 2021.
Yeah, and you never know. It might be an opportunity for a few of these assistant coaches to get pay raises from the University of Alabama. Knowing that they are high value targets for Coach Sark, and to join his staff. So you kind of have to wait and see how that may go. But losing it, if Alabama were to lose a guy like Jeff Banks or Carl Scott, two guys that I don't know if there's any rumors going around about Coach Scott, but I'm just talking about two guys who recruit the state of Texas for Alabama, and who do such a tremendous job. And you look at what Alabama has from the state of Texas in this recruiting class. I mean, there's 6 guys who have signed, plus you also have Kamar Wheaton, who's unsigned, but that's 7 guys in Alabama's 2021 class, all from the state of Texas. And a lot of that has to do with the recruiting efforts of Jeff Banks and Carl Scott, and how well they've done. And obviously, you look at the cornerbacks, the way that they've played. I mean, these guys are gonna, it would hurt losing them, as on the field coaches, because you look at what Coach Banks has been able to do. There's always been, obviously the running joke, has been, when Alabama can sign a number 1 kicker. But when they leave Alabama, they're the number 101 kicker. With Coach Banks, it's been a complete turnaround, especially with Will Reichert and the way that he's performed and being a finalist for the Groza and not missing a kick the entire year. I mean, that's a lot of work with Coach Banks, and obviously the tight ends have done really well with Coach Banks as well. So leaving, if Alabama were to lose him or potentially lose another coach, I think that would sting a little bit.
Yeah, I have a photo right here of Kyle Flood, who's also doing a fantastic job. I mean, we talk about the Alabama offense so much during the entire season. I mean, it really stems from him in the offensive line play. I mean, Bone, kind of fill people in about Kyle Flood and where he's at from a recruiting standpoint, just to kind of build the picture. I mean, during a coaching change and when a big time coach leaves, look, coaches are going to leave with these other coach, whether they have a different position, a pay raise, whatever. I mean, it happens. I mean, it's part of the game. You guys have seen it for a long time. So Bone, kind of elaborate a little bit on Kyle Flood before we move on.
Yeah, Coach Flood, obviously has, developed these guys on the offensive line into the nation's best offensive line. And, obviously has the best offensive line class in the country coming in, tremendous connection with a lot of these, top guys, and, the way that he's recruited. And I think he's done a tremendous job. And, I think it would be a big loss. But, at the same time, you got to think University of Alabama, any recruit who is being recruited or who signs, I think most of them have a pretty good feeling that they're going to come into a situation where they're being coached by the best coaches in America. Whether that's at their position, whether that's at their the coordinator, and they've got to understand, these coaches probably aren't going to be around all 4 years, or now they say, oh, I'm going to school for 3 or 4 years. Let's say 3 or 4 years. A lot of times we're not going to see these guys 3 or 4 years, but the one constant that's always going to be there is Coach Saban, and I think that's the selling point. A lot of people want to come and play, for the GOAT. They want to come play for Coach Saban and be a part of this program. And there's some things at Alabama that it's not just about the assistant coaches. It's not just about the coordinators. It's about the tradition, the playing for national championships year in and year out. We continue to see coordinators leave, assistant coaches leave. But guess who's still at the top just about every single year, and that's the University of Alabama. So that's why we see recruits want to sign with Alabama. It's not necessarily just because they want to come play for a position coach. It's because they want to play for Coach Saban. They want to play for the University of Alabama, and I don't think anything's going to change. Coach Sark leaving obviously stings a little bit from I think from a fan's perspective, from Coach Saban's perspective. But as we've seen year after year, he usually hires the right guy to come in and do the job. So I have no doubt in my mind that Nick Saban is going to make the right hire.
I mean, you make such a great point, because as I was kind of cycling back through the photos, I mean, I came back to Nick Saban because I wanted you to hit on that. I mean, the main reason that Alabama is Alabama right now at this point is because of Nick Saban. I mean, I think kind of, when I first showed up, it was right after Lane Kiffin, and people were really upset after Lane Kiffin left, and they didn't feel that the Alabama offense would get to this point again. I mean, look, they've surpassed wherever they were with Kiffin. No disrespect to him. I like I said, I mean, he's one of the best offensive minds out there. But I mean, Nick Saban has evolved with the game. And what's amazing to me, Bone, is that he always finds a way to upgrade the position. All right, Bone. We have a great interview lined up. You spoke with Jalen Milroe. He's a quarterback commitment. He's from Texas. Tell me a little bit about that interview, and then we'll play that right here for our subscribers on Bama Insider.
Yeah, I had an opportunity to speak to Jalen Milroe earlier today, and he basically said what I thought he would say in terms of having a lot of respect for Coach Sark and knowing that he would have opportunities to go elsewhere. And like I said, anytime coach does really well, especially at a school like Alabama, they're going to have plenty of opportunities. And with Coach Sark, just coming off winning the Broyles Award, the way that he's been able to, put together an unbelievable, offensive, just giant in Tuscaloosa. I mean, that a lot of schools are going to come calling for him, and recruits know that. Recruits don't go in blindly. They don't think, oh well, this guy's going to be there all 3 or 4 years that I'm at the school. That's how good he is. No, he's that good and he's going to get a head coaching opportunity elsewhere. So they see that, and Jalen Milroe disappointed that Coach Sark is gone, but also says that he believes that Alabama will bring in the right guy for the job. So he's very confident. He's looking forward to enrolling at Alabama next week. I mean, like I said, a lot of these guys are enrolling here in the next couple of weeks. He even said he's going to be rooming with Ja'Cory Brooks. So he's looking forward to rooming with Ja'Cory Brooks. And I don't think it's going to affect really any of these guys in this class. I think it's going to be, everybody's upset that he left, but at the same time, completely understand why he left, and looking forward to their future in Tuscaloosa.
All right, we're going to play that interview now right here on BamaInsider.com. Thank you very much for watching. Enjoy this interview with Jalen Milroe, class of 2021 signee. And of course, go back to BamaInsider.com as we continue to provide updates on the Alabama offensive coordinator search. And of course, as Bone just said, you can get all the scoop on the early enrollees and kind of when those guys get into Tuscaloosa to be a part of this incredible team. We also have coverage on the national championship game upcoming on January 11th back at BamaInsider.com. A lot going on, clearly, and it don't stop when you cover the Alabama Crimson Tide. Here's the interview with Jalen Milroe. We'll catch you soon back at BamaInsider.com.
All right, what's up, Jalen? How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing good. Let's talk about the end of your season here. I know you guys, didn't make it as far as you wanted to, but still had a great season overall.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Talk about your season overall.
So initially to start the season out, we were finding out who we were as a football team. We graduated over 30 seniors in the years prior to the team that we had in the 2019 team. So we were trying to figure out as an offense who we were, who were the Tonkin Falcons as an offense, and we figured it out our first few games, and then we got into a rhythm. We played well together, started to click. We actually played some linemen, some receivers, and also some running back. Marquise was our second string running back last year, and he got the main reps this year. So it's kind of different for him, to get the first hand reps. And then the offense, we're trying to figure out who we were. But we started clicking, and what I would say is those group of guys that we had this year worked extremely hard, on the field and off the field, with the morning meetings, and then with the weight room, and then the film work that we had. And we were students of the game this year. We had a historic year. Won our first district championship. We weren't undefeated in the regular season, but fell short in the playoffs, third round against North Shore. But we had a great season as a whole, and it was a fun year.
Good. Well, I know you're probably counting down the days until you get to Tuscaloosa, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Now, when will you officially arrive?
So I leave January 9th, and we'll get there January. But the actual check-in day is the next day, the 10th.
Okay. Well, then do you know yet who you'll room with?
Yeah. So it looks like it's gonna be Jacory.
Okay, Jacory Brooks. Good. You go ahead and build that connection with him.
Yes, sir.
Good. Well, tell me. Obviously, you watched the Tide roll in the Rose Bowl against Notre Dame. What'd you think about the performance?
Honestly, when they're all clicking on all cylinders, it's hard to beat. It's hard to beat Alabama. It's so fun to watch them play, offensively and defensively, and it's so fun to watch. And Devontae Smith is a dude. He can ball. And Najee Harris, he's running the ball, touching the ball. Mac Jones is doing an outstanding job with the football and leading the offense. And then the defense is on fire.
Well, who's going to win the Heisman this week?
It should be anybody from Bama. Mac Jones and Devontae Smith, without a doubt.
Well, what are your thoughts about their game going into Ohio State?
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. I'll definitely be watching. I wish I would be able to go to the game, but we'll be checking in, doing orientation, stuff like that. But I'm confident. I believe that Alabama's gonna come out victorious.
Obviously, some big news this weekend with Coach Sark taking the head coaching job at Texas. Were you surprised by that, or how did you find out about it?
What the caliber Coach Sark is, I wasn't surprised by it. What the accolades that he's done and all the things he's done with his coaching. I saw that he wanted the head coaching job somewhere, and he had to do what was best for him and his family. And just like my decision with choosing Alabama, I had to do what was best for me and my family. And I felt as though Alabama was the place I wanted to be. So he just, did what was best for him. And I wish I could have been coached by Coach Sark. I enjoyed the relationship that we built and everything. But I wish him nothing but the best. And so I definitely understand.
Now, have you had a chance to speak with him since he took the job, or any of the Alabama coaches?
No, sir.
Okay. But everything's still good on Alabama's end with you?
Yes, sir. 100%.
All right. Well, I know you're looking forward to arriving in Tuscaloosa here in a couple of weeks and rooming with Jacory, and I've also all the other guys that are enrolling early. You got a big group enrolling early with you guys.
Yes, sir. We're ready to work.
All right, man. Well, good deal. Well, best of luck to you. I appreciate you taking the time with me, and go work out and have a good day. Okay.
Yes, sir. Roll Tide.